All right, thank you everybody for joining us. This is MaxPreps Office Hours Syncing with Huddle or Syncing with GameChanger. I'm sorry. Um, Today is Thursday, August 5th. We're starting here at 9 a.m. Pacific time. My name is Haley Hughes. We have with us Aaron Hendricks. If you want to say hi, Aaron.
Hey everyone, I'm Aaron. Like I said in the chat, if you guys have any questions, just put them in there and I'll be able to answer them in there during it. And then, like Haley said as well, at the end, we're going to have some time to answer your questions too.
Thank you, Aaron. So yeah, you will be muted. So please utilize that chat box or Q&A box to ask us any questions, and we'll do our best to answer them as we go. If we don't answer them or get to them, we will get to them at the end. We'll also be sending out a recording of this webinar today. So once we're done here, you should receive an email from us with the recording, as well as our upcoming office hours and a survey for you to fill out any feedback you have for us. So before we get started, let's learn a little bit about MaxPreps. We were created in a little town in California between Sacramento and Lake Tahoe called El Dorado Hills in 2002 by a local high school basketball coach who was looking for a better way to get his team recognition in the local media. It's our goal at MaxPreps to celebrate the institution of high school sports and recognize that for so many young people, this will be the pinnacle of their careers, and the memories that they make playing high school sports will be some of the best of their lives. That being said, we aim to cover every team, every player, and every game, no matter the size of the school or popularity of the sport. So today for office hours, we're going to go over how to enable your MaxPreps sync setting on GameChanger, a data sharing overview, how to import your MaxPreps roster and schedule from MaxPreps to GameChanger, how to import your GameChanger stats to MaxPreps, and then we'll show you how to do all of that in a live demo. And again, answer any questions as we go, and if we don't get to them, we'll answer them at the end. So enabling the sync setting, you'll sign into your GameChanger account, and you should be looking for your team settings on your team's homepage, where you'll scroll to find the section Team Syncing, where you should see a MaxPreps logo that will either stay disabled or enabled at some level or another. It's important to note that the primary checkbox should be marked. This ensures that if there are more than one of the same team on GameChanger, that only the account that you are using will be used to sync with MaxPreps. I'll cover that more in detail during the live demo, but what you see on your right-hand side here is your team settings page on GameChanger.com, and zoomed in, you'll see the team syncing that you're looking for to set up that sync. And this is on GameChanger.com. The team manager sync we'll go over a little bit. I know there were some issues with the syncing between Team Manager and GameChanger.com. We're working on that with GameChanger. So if you have any issues with that, feel free to contact us after this and we can work that out with you if there's any issues between your Team Manager sync and MaxPreps. So what data actually syncs from MaxPreps to GameChanger and GameChanger to MaxPreps? Your roster and schedule data, as long as there's nothing on your roster or schedule on GameChanger, you should see an import from MaxPreps button if your sync is set up. That's a one-time sync, so if you enter in your roster and schedule on MaxPreps first, then you should see that option to import on GameChanger. So from GameChanger to MaxPreps, the only thing we receive are stat files. So stats sync over, catching stats do not, fielding stats don't if they're exporting and importing manually, and if the games go to 4 innings or less, they won't sync over automatically. But you can still get those stats over, and we'll show you how to do that here in a little bit. But in order to make sure that these syncs are possible, we suggest that your team syncing under the team settings page that I showed you on the previous slide look like the picture that you see on this slide. So if you'll want to see enabled at varsity level primary team. If you don't, we'll have you disable that and re-enable it here in a little. I'll show you how to do that. So again, to save you time, we suggest entering your roster and schedule on MaxPreps first, because then you can import it to GameChanger, and that also gives the best possible chance of the game IDs syncing up and your stats to sync over automatically. So again, your game changer schedule and roster must be blank for you to be able to see that import from MaxPreps button that you see on the right-hand side here. So if you have one game on your schedule or one person on your roster, you won't see these import buttons there on your game changer site. So if you want to remove that game or remove that athlete to get that button, you can do so, and that button should pop up for you to be able to import from MaxPreps and save you time from having to enter your schedule on both platforms. If you need to add an athlete or player after importing, you'll need to do so manually on both MaxPreps and GameChanger. And again, all of this is just a quick overview. We'll go over this a lot more into detail when we're going through the live demo. There are 3 ways of importing from GameChanger to MaxPreps. The automatic import is our best option, and that's what should happen as long as your sync is set up correctly. That's what should happen for every game. So once you finish that game on GameChanger, it should automatically sync over to MaxPreps as long as everything is set up correctly. If for some reason you don't see that game come over to MaxPreps after you've finalized that game on GameChanger, you can check to see if there's a pending file waiting for you in your coach admin. That's what you see on the right-hand side here. So if for some reason you don't see those stats come in, this is where you'll want to go to check to see if that file is waiting for you. Reasons being maybe that you may have added a player to your roster on GameChanger, but not to MaxPreps, so it's throwing off, it can't sync those stats over for that player until that player is added on MaxPreps. And you can see that when you go into that pending file in your coach admin. And again, I'll show you all of this in the live demo. The manual export is your worst case scenario option. You should only have to manually export if the games go to less than 4 innings. That's really the only time you should have to manually export the game. We're working with GameChanger on getting the catching stats to come over. They currently don't come over at all. Fielding stats are also not included in the manual export. But again, you should only have to do that if the game went to 3 innings or less. So that being said, we'll head into our live demo now. We'll start with GameChanger. So if you guys want to follow along, you're more than welcome to pull up GameChanger.com. So that's gc.com. I'll give you a few seconds to get that pulled up if you would like. No worries if you don't want to or can't right now. We'll go through everything. And again, this will be a recording sent out in an email here shortly. So when you get to GameChanger.com, this is where we suggest setting up your sync for MaxPreps, your sync for MaxPreps if you haven't done so already. We also suggest creating your team here if you haven't already, just to get that sync set up properly, because we were having a few issues with teams that were set up in Team Manager. Again, if you already set up your team in Team Manager, no worries. If you have any issues with that, feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to work with you and get that problem solved with your syncing. But for now, if you go into GameChanger.com, you'll go to the sign in button in the upper right-hand corner, put in your email and password, sign in. You should be taken straight to your most current team. If you have multiple teams, you may need to go to your teams and search for or click into the correct team. So once you get to your team's page, you'll scroll down to see team settings. It should be under team admin. If you click on team settings, this page should look familiar from the slides that we just covered. This is your team settings page. If you are having trouble seeing your stats come over at all, you may want to check to see that your team is turned on in the correct season. So this upcoming season will be actually, if you're in the fall, it'll be fall 2021. If it's spring, it'll be actually spring 2022. So this is the team from this previous year of spring 2021. So if you scroll down this page, you should also check to make sure that your team is set up as a high school team. If it's not a high school team, you won't be able to sync over to MaxPreps. So if you scroll down, this is where you'll want to go to set up your sync. So team syncing, you'll look for the MaxPreps logo here. And if your sync is set up at anything other than varsity level primary team or JV level primary team, then you'll want to disable it. So if you're enabled at level, enabled at varsity level, but you don't see primary team there, go ahead and disable that sync. You're going to want to enable it. So if you enable MaxPreps, you'll fill out your information for your school. So MaxPreps is in California, the city, your team name, your level, and then primary team at this level is the most important part here to check. You want to make sure that checkbox is checked. Reason being is a lot of times there's parents or fans that create GameChanger accounts, just trying to keep up, do their own stats. They may accidentally hit that enable sync MaxPreps button. If that's the case, then the stat files could be waiting pending in your MaxPreps coach admin from their account versus your account if primary team at this level is not checked. So again, we just make sure this is checked so that way your account is coming over to MaxPreps instead of a fan's. So if we set up this sync, click save, you'll see if we scroll down, enabled as varsity level primary team. So this is what you want it to look like. Again, if it looks anything like anything else, you will want to disable it and re-enable the sync. And again, you can enable the sync setting in the GameChanger app, but we recently found that it doesn't set up the sync correctly. So you'll just want to make sure that it's marked as primary, which you can't currently do in the app. So now if we go back to our schedule page, because we have nothing on it, we can import from MaxPreps. So again, you'll see this import from MaxPreps button as long as your sync is set up correctly and there's nothing on your schedule or your roster page. So we'll head to the roster as well. There should be an import for MaxPreps button. Keep in mind, it's a one-time sync. So if you need to add a game or add a player to the roster as your season goes on, you'll need to do so both on MaxPreps and GameChanger. If you have an athlete on GameChanger that's not on MaxPreps and they have stats for a game, that's when you're going to have the issue of the stats not syncing over automatically, and they're going to be waiting for you in that pending file that I'll show you here in a little bit. But so just keep in mind, if you do need to add any players or any games to your schedule, you'll have to do that both on GameChanger and MaxPreps. It doesn't matter the order in which you do it, as long as you just do it before trying to sync those stats over. So importing from MaxPreps will also just improve the sync and the chances of files automatically importing into your MaxPreps account. It's important that your MaxPreps and GameChanger's rosters match, specifically the jersey numbers. That's how things are linked up to the correct players in the back end. So I would just make sure if you don't import from MaxPreps, no problem. You just want to make sure that your roster and game schedule match up. Common questions that we get are, can I sync my GameChanger roster and schedule to MaxPreps? Unfortunately, we don't have that option currently right now. We are working with GameChanger to improve some of our sync settings, so look out for that in the future, hopefully, so we can have it go either way. So if you do enter it on GameChanger first, then you can import it to MaxPreps. But currently, we only have the one import from MaxPreps to GameChanger for the schedule and roster. Another question we typically get is, I've added a new game on GameChanger. Will that show up on my MaxPreps schedule? No, unfortunately, you'll have to add that game that you added on GameChanger to MaxPreps as well, and then those stats can sync over to MaxPreps. So now that we've covered the schedule and roster, we'll go into some stats for teams. So we'll hop into an Oak Ridge softball team here. So again, your stats should automatically get imported into MaxPreps as long as your sync is set up correctly, enabled at varsity or JV level, primary team. If we can't 100% match the game based on opponent, date, time, then you'll need to select the file from the drop-down menu in the MaxPreps admin. So if there's anything off about the game ID, then you may have to click that stat file from the drop-down menu in your MaxPreps admin. So that'll be your home base. If for some reason you're not seeing your stats automatically come over, you'll want to check those pending files. And again, I'll show you that once we head over to MaxPreps. But for now, I'll show you how to manually export your stats from GameChanger to MaxPreps. That should only be done necessary if a game doesn't go 4 more innings. Fielding stats don't come over in this option. Again, we're working with GameChanger to get that corrected. But for right now, when you do export these stats, fielding stats won't come over. So if a game went to 4 innings or less, what you'll want to do is come to your schedule on GameChanger, click the box score, you'll click box score again, and then you'll see this MaxPreps export. So when you click the MaxPreps export, it'll download a stat file to your computer. And once you have that stat file, you'll go to MaxPreps and import that stat file. And I'll show you how to do that once we head to MaxPreps. But some common questions that we get about stats with GameChanger are, why are my stats not syncing over? You want to confirm that your sync is enabled correctly. So again, the primary team, you want to make sure that you're in the correct season, the correct level, and that you haven't added any players to your GameChanger roster without adding them to the MaxPreps roster as well. You also want to make sure that the game that you have on GameChanger is listed on your schedule on MaxPreps. And that's a common occurrence as well. And do my GameChanger stats automatically sync to MaxPreps? Yes, they should, as long as everything is set up correctly. And then catching and fielding stats. So catching stats won't come over at all. Fielding stats don't come over and manually exporting. So if you manually export and you see you're missing your fielding stats, it's because they unfortunately just don't come over currently. That being said, we'll head over to maxpreps.com. So if you go to maxpreps.com, you'll want to click the sign in button in the upper right hand corner. If you don't see the sign in button, it'll probably be a profile icon, and that means you're already logged in. So you should be good to go there. So we'll sign in. And you should be taken straight back to the home page when you do sign in. Your profile icon in your upper right-hand corner is your home base. That's where you'll want to go to get into your admin for the team. So if you click that profile icon, we'll go into Miller Boys Baseball. So this will take us to the most current season, which is spring 21-22. But to show you the ins and outs of GameChanger, we'll head back to their last season of spring 2021. So to get to previous seasons, if you ever need to on MaxPreps, you can do so by clicking that drop-down menu and selecting to change seasons. You can also change levels here as well. If you are the varsity head coach or varsity coach, you can switch to JV and freshman from here. All right, so we'll head into the schedule. Or we'll start with the roster first, actually, so I can show you if you do need to add any players to your roster on MaxPreps, you can do so by going to your roster tab and clicking the add button up here. So if you need to add any players to your roster after you've added them on GameChanger, this is where you'll go. Again, just make sure that those jersey numbers are matching from GameChanger to MaxPreps. So if we go to our schedule, you also want to make sure that any games that are on GameChanger are on MaxPreps as well. So that's why we say importing from MaxPreps to GameChanger, importing your roster and schedule is usually the easiest option, just to ensure that everything does match up. But once you finalize the game on the GameChanger app, the stat file should be sent over to MaxPreps automatically as long as everything is set up correctly. If we can't 100% match that game based on opponent date or time, the file will need to be selected from the drop-down list of game files. And this can be found by, so if we scroll down here, we're missing missing score and stats for this game against Ingleside. So what you'll want to do is click enter score if the score isn't already entered. So we'll do that for this option here first. I'll show you how to do that from enter score. You should automatically see this GameChanger drop-down menu if your team is synced with GameChanger. So you should have this no matter what, if the stats haven't been already imported. We actually did an update as well recently that has cleaned up the stat file dropdown. So it should automatically have, it should be in order, I'm sorry. So you're searching for your 419 game versus Ingleside, and you should be able to find it pretty easily on this drop-down menu. It's all in order by date. And then you'll just click to continue and review this file. And this is where you can see if there are any athletes that are missing on your roster. So if you didn't have Tyler, number 44, on your MaxPreps roster, it would have this select filled out, and you would see this would be highlighted in red. So it would give you the view to let you know that Tyler is not on your MaxPreps roster, so you can't match him up here to somebody on your roster, and you'll need to go in and add him to your MaxPreps roster before importing these stats. So then you'll come back here and you can import your scores and stats once you do match him up on your roster. So now we'll head back to your schedule page. If the score is already entered, you'll see an enter stats button. So if you click the enter stats button, once the score has already been entered, then you'll see, so this is where you can, if you want to manually enter stats, you can do so here, or you can go to enter GameChanger stats, and then you'll see the similar drop-down menu, and you search for your stat file there. If you need to go back and correct anything, any stats, so if there are any edits that need to be made for your stats, and you do so on GameChanger, it's a one-time sync, so those stats won't sync over to MaxPreps, those edits that you make. So you'll need to do so on MaxPreps and GameChanger. So if you need to edit any stats that have already been entered, you can do so by clicking the pencil icon next to the game and then clicking Edit Stats. This should take you to the screen that you previously saw, where you should be able to click into any box and make changes that you need to. Keep in mind, you'll need to click Publish and Continue, and it'll take about 15 to 30 minutes to update those stats on the public side. But again, it's a one-time sync when those stats sync over. So if you make changes to your stats on GameChanger once the game has already been finalized and synced over to MaxPreps, they won't be updated on MaxPreps, so you'll need to do so on MaxPreps as well. If you for some reason you don't see the GameChanger, if this was what it'll look like if the stats have already been imported, you won't see the GameChanger drop-down menu. You'll see that the stats have been imported from GameChanger. So that's a nice way to know where your stats came from if you have any questions about that. But if you don't see your game on that drop-down menu, you'll have to import that stat file. So to do that, we'll head back to the schedule page. So when you exported that stat file from the GameChanger by clicking the box score, then box score, and then MaxPreps export, you got a stat file downloaded to your computer. So to import that stat file, you can either go to enter stats if the score has already been entered. So we'll just go there for now. If you go to enter stats, you'll, instead of enter GameChanger stats, since you couldn't find that on your, find the stat file in your drop-down menu, you go to import stats. So this is where you'll be able to search your computer to find that stat file and import it to MaxPreps. And it should be a smooth process. Just remember that your fielding stats won't come over for those specific exports and imports. And again, that should be last case scenario. So if you're having to do that many times, feel free to reach out to us and we're happy to take a look into your sync. But you should only have to manually export and import 4 games that didn't go to 4 innings or more. So with that being said, I believe we're at towards the end of our demo. So if you guys have any questions, I see that Aaron's been doing a great job answering questions. I will do my best to get caught up and see if there's anything else that I need to answer. Aaron, if you want to hop on and let me know if there's any questions that you didn't get to, or if you guys want to type any questions out that you haven't had a chance to, feel free.
Yeah, Haley, if you look at the questions, there's one for you. It's pretty good. It's about the GameChanger and the Team Manager app differences and which one they should use.
Yes, so we definitely want you to use the Team Manager app. That is the new app that they are pushing out. We just suggest there has been a little bit of a syncing issue with Team Manager to GameChanger.com and MaxPreps. So the only issue that we're having is when you set up the team on Team Manager, sometimes you're not able to see your team on GameChanger.com, and there's a little bit of a weird delay there. So we can reach out to GameChanger and get that fixed for you if you're having that issue. But we do suggest Team Manager is a great app. It's their new app they recently came out with in the last few years. So we definitely suggest using the Team Manager app. The only issue is just setting up your primary team checkbox to make sure that your team is the only team syncing with MaxPreps. That's the only issue we have. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me. I'm the GameChanger expert here at MaxPreps. So if you have any issues at all, you'll have my email when I send out this recording here once we're finished. So feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm happy to get any issues you may have with the sync corrected. But again, Team Manager is a great app. We suggest using that. We've heard it's a lot easier for coaches to use as well. So use that. You can set up your sync and set up everything on that. And if you have any issues, feel free to give us a call. We just suggest using GameChanger.com just because it's a little easier to get your sync set up. And we haven't had issues with GameChanger.com. And then it looks like we have a question about an athlete showing up as another athlete. Jody, if you want to reach out to me after this, if you reply back to my email, I can take a look into that for your team. That's a quick fix on our end. It sounds like their profiles just got bound together somehow. I can get that updated.
It's updated now. I just fixed it. I was just typing in the chat that it's corrected. So it should take about like 15, 20 minutes and you should see those changes.
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, so that was a quick fix on our end. Sometimes that happens when they have the same roster number and the name is just changed, their profiles get bound together. So So that's a quick fix on our end. If anyone else happens to see that happening, feel free to reach out to us. We can easily get that corrected for you. So on the slides, you see our support phone number, 1-800-324-7329, extension 1. You can reach us at any time from 8 to 5 Pacific time. And support.maxpreps.com is our support site. Very helpful tool. We have a lot of great support articles on there. And you can always reach us, support@maxpreps.com. And you will have my email as well. So if you have any questions related to anything GameChanger and MaxPreps, you can reach out to me via email as well. All right, and if we have any other questions, feel free to reach out or respond to my email, and I'm happy to get that updated for you or get that answered for you. Thank you all for joining us today. Looks like we're here at time, but if I didn't get to any questions, please reach out to me. I'm happy to get that answered for you, and we appreciate you joining today. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day.